The other day I finished Doom: The Dark Ages Revelations, and to say that it was good, doesn't even begin to describe it. This DLC feels like the culmination of 10 years of new Doom. Every idea and design intention reaching its full potential. Hugo Martin and Marty Stratton since 2016 have been pushing the FPS genre forward with their quote-unquote fun zone design philosophy, pushing players into creative, forward and aggressive decision making. Combat with clear enemy weaknesses and strengths encourage you to engage with the entire arsenal when approaching a fight, and their games punish you for playing stupidly and reward you for playing well. It's exhilarating. It was a bold direction in 2016 in a market saturated by cover shooters with regenerating health bars, but it paid off. And as a massive fan of the new Doom games, playing this DLC, I couldn't help but feel like, yeah, this is it. This is the best Doom that they have ever made. But as I rolled credits, I couldn't help but notice a sinking feeling in my gut. And I'm sure you all know where I'm going with this. On July 6th, 2026, just one day before the launch of Doom: The Dark Ages Revelations, Microsoft announced that they're laying off a whopping 3,200 Xbox employees throughout fiscal year 2027, with 1,600 losing their jobs immediately. id Software, unfortunately, was hit particularly hard, losing 136 employees, which is around 50% of their entire workforce. Xbox is not in a good spot right now. They're not healthy, they're not profitable, the Game Pass model just hasn't been working, they're struggling to ship quality games, or just ship anything of real value, and they've essentially straight up admitted to having lost the console wars. It's been very mismanaged. So what was their big play? What was their move to try and quote unquote save Xbox? Well, they bought up a bunch of studios like ZeniMax in 2020 and Blizzard in 2023 for billions and billions of dollars, like a huge amount of money, just hoarding all this intellectual property to try and fuel people into buying Game Pass. But that model's completely failed now. And instead of the corporate management behind that model, behind that idea, getting punished or taking some accountability, they've just decided to make the developers eat shit. Like it's their fault that, their model didn't work out. Like the developers making these quality games, like it's their fault. It's completely ridiculous. And id Software in particular is one of the only companies since the acquisition who's genuinely consistently been shipping quality, actually getting games through the door, which is all that gamers want at the end of the day. They just want to play good games. And just a day before their magnum opus with the Dark Ages Revelations comes out, half the team just gets fucking cut. It's a baffling decision. It genuinely completely baffling. And id Software is not just another games company. They're one of the most important and influential tech companies in the entire history of the medium. They completely revolutionized 3D rendering in the 90s with id Tech and the original Doom and Quake, and that engine has continued to evolve all the way up to 2026 with the Dark Ages and beyond. And it's common knowledge that the Source engine, Valve's legendary Source engine, was built on the bones of a modified version of the Quake engine, which was id Tech. So, and Source has gone on to power some of the greatest games ever made: the Half-Life series, Portal series, Counter-Strike, Dota 2, some of the most globally played games on PC every single day. You can trace its origins all the way back to id Software consistently. Gaming as we know it today would not exist without id Software, without id Tech. The FPS genre in particular owes its entire existence to this company. And what do Microsoft do? They eliminate senior roles at id, such as a director of engine tech and senior gameplay systems programmers, people whose entire jobs it is to maintain the id Tech engine and evolve it and continue that legacy. And they just fire them. as soon as the DLC releases. It's like spitting in the face of its entire history. And looking at the situation reminded me of a similar situation, but with a opposite ending. And that was in 2024. I don't know if you remember. In 2024, Nintendo were in a very sticky situation. The Wii U was failing. The Wii U was completely flopping. And the company was in bad shape. And what the management did back then was CEO Satoru Iwata personally decided to take a 50% cut out of his paycheck. And Shigeru Miyamoto, of course, legendary creator of Mario and Donkey Kong, also took a 30% cut to protect their employees from layoffs. They realized that what was happening at the company was not the developers' fault, and that, you know, the developers were in fear of getting laid off. They wouldn't be able to make good games. They wouldn't be able to develop good games. They should not be the first on the cutting block. You know, that's leadership, that's management, that's accountability. And that's a legendary story. I'm sure you've heard it before. And it's a shame that in today's landscape, stuff like that never happens. And there seems to be very little understanding or respect for the actual developers and creatives who define the industry. You know, the real games industry are these people. And I'm not supposing or saying that, you know, everyone should run the Nintendo playbook in this situation. I'm sure it's a complex and not always feasible option to cut exec salaries, and maybe it doesn't work for this reason or that reason. But the point is, you don't just sack your devs, especially not from such a high value, iconic, talented company like id Software. It's just delusional. It's completely out of touch. Watching those credits roll and seeing the names of these id developers, knowing that 50% of the people I'm seeing right now have just lost their jobs, it's a heartbreaking experience, and it definitely sours the whole thing. That, you know, they kept them on board just long enough to ship this DLC before just cutting them off. I love Doom, and I love id Software, and they just don't deserve this. So yeah, my heart goes out to everyone affected by these layoffs. I hope that their talent is recognized and valued elsewhere, because clearly Xbox doesn't give a fuck. Microsoft doesn't give a fuck. Anyway, I just wanted to get this off my chest, and I'm gonna go back to playing Doom now. See ya.